Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, in every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 3, Episode 5 of Hulu's Only Murders in the Building, entitled Love. So this week's episode title revolves around the love theme this week, as we see all three of our lead characters experience an escalation of sorts in their respective relationships. Let me straighten this out. It seems a little crooked to me. That's much better. And I use the term relationships loosely here, but Oliver and Loretta go on a date, finally. Mabel and Tobert, I really hate saying this guy's name, go on a stakeout. And Charles and Joy enter into a conflict once Charles asks Joy about the lipstick in Ben's dressing room. And while I again find the advancement of the murder mystery to be lacking this week, and some of the character motivations to be lazily contrived, I did enjoy watching our three leads deal with their three respective relationship/dating situations. I also thought this episode was a bit shorter on laughs than episodes of Omit B tend to be, but that's not a criticism, just an observation. I'll gladly exchange a few laughs for some compelling character development. I think we got that in this episode this week. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over each group separately, each pairing, I should say, which will allow my handful of issues to come up naturally. And I'm going to start with Charles and Joy because that's where most of those issues reside. So this episode opens with Joy narrating about how you can be dating someone but still not be aware of who they truly are and what sorts of secrets they may have, which of course meant to point the finger at her, since that's where we left her last week anyway. So, we're kind of meant to be taking that as like, oh, she has some secrets that she's hiding as well since she's doing the narration. We learned that it's been 2 days and Charles still hasn't asked her about the lipstick. They're prepared to do a cake tasting, and Charles merely asks Joy if she knows how the lipstick got into Ben's dressing room. And this is really my only issue. Well, it's not my only issue, but it's my big overarching issue. Big in scope. It's not a huge issue as in, like, I don't like this episode because of this, but it's an issue that kind of persist. I said the characters' motivations were lazily contrived, and I don't think this episode plausibly connected Charles asking if she knew how her lipstick got in Ben's dressing room to Charles getting dumped. Like the Charles, I don't want to say dumped, but the engagement being put on hold. The Charles Joy plotline in this episode relies on Joy being rightfully upset that Charles thinks she's a killer. But they never, at least for me, satisfactorily played out a scenario in which Joy could rightfully believe that Charles thinks she's the killer. Like, he asked her how her lipstick got in the dressing room on the night of the murder to write fucking pig on the mirror. I think that's a very valid question to ask. And then she gets indignant and leaves to go to the cake tasting by herself as we get the return of Jane Lynch's character. And I didn't even get to fully enjoy Jane Lynch's character rolling around as Scott Bakula because I didn't buy into Joy being the right to be that upset in that moment. Like, what should have happened in that scene if it was based in real life would have been what happened at the end of the episode. Joy would have said, someone hit Ben. I was called in there to fix him up. I must have left my lipstick. Boom. Then Charles admits he's the one who hit Ben, which shows some vulnerability and him admitting something that's incriminating for him that he's been keeping even from Oliver and Mabel. And then, I feel like they both shared something and now everything should theoretically be fine. But instead, they kicked that down to the end of the episode so that we can have a full runtime of Joy being pissed, in my opinion, without good cause, because we needed conflict and not characters behaving in ways that made sense. So when she leaves him at the end, I don't really buy her reasoning there. I don't think it's valid. He never accused her of being the killer, and it would be downright foolish and naive to find that caliber of evidence and just dismiss it because you love somebody. I don't know. I just don't buy that. If he said, I can't believe you killed him. Okay, fine. But I just felt like the episode wanted conflict, but it kind of half-asses getting there. Maybe have Charles get to the point of implying she was the killer. Something like that. Oh, look, someone wrote... Oh, no, but instead of that, he's like, look, someone wrote a threatening message on Ben's mirror with lipstick. Do you know how it got... With your lipstick. Do you know how it got there? I mean, the question even kind of implies that he thinks someone else did it with her lipstick. And again, he'd be a fool to find that level of evidence and go, I'm not going to ask her about it because she's cute. She dances around and talk about her thong that she got on. I don't know, man. I just don't buy that level of reaction to what I think is that valid of a concern. Not even a concern, a question hey, your lipstick was found on the crime scene. How did it get there? I don't think that's a ridiculous thing to ask somebody. Hey, there's evidence that you were in the same room as somebody who got killed on the night that they got killed. And a threat was written on their mirror with your lipstick. Do you know anything about this? I don't think you get the right to go, how dare you, and then storm off. So we get to the end of the episode, and Joy's leaving Charles when he never accused her of being a murderer in the first place. She provided the explanation she should have provided at the beginning with the same energy she should have had at the beginning, and Charles declares himself ready to commit. I just don't buy her reaction of, okay, now the engagement's off. Once we've done all that I just said, I just don't buy that reaction. I also didn't buy how Charles arrives at the epiphany of, I'm afraid of lowercase Joy, not uppercase Joy, which I thought that was kind of clever, by the way. Because again, asking about the very compelling and important evidence against her is not indicative of being afraid to commit. So while on paper that was certainly a cute thing to write and it sounds all clever and shit, I still don't buy the premise that Charles is afraid of Joy/commitment because he asked Joy about pretty damning evidence that she was involved in a murder. I just don't think that's... I don't know. I don't think I could take away from that Charles is hesitant to commit. He asked a valid question about very damning evidence. And the episode wants me to pull all sorts of things from that I don't believe to be true. And I'm certain that Charles legitimately actually was/is afraid to commit after the whole Jane situation. It's just not on the screen, though. What was on the screen was a clumsy ass, he asked a valid question, so he must be scared to commit. And that just doesn't track with me. Now, admittedly, Charles said he proposed accidentally. That's a game changer right there. I can see that being the relationship ender, and I don't blame Joy for ending it because of that. But at first, I kind of thought she mischaracterized Charles a bit here by talking about his ego and self-absorption, but that is true. I think Charles does have an ego. It's just played for laughs, and we like Charles, so it's funny. But he does have an ego, so I kind of pulled back my issues with what I thought was a mischaracterization. It's a thing where, okay, as a viewer of the show, ha ha ha, that's Charles being Charles, but as somebody who might want to be in a relationship with Charles, I can see that being problematic. So moving on to Mabel and Tobert. I thought their relationship stuff, specifically as it pertained to their date and whatnot, and the conversation they have, no problem with any of that. But within that plot line comes something else that I didn't like. But let's start with the premise behind their little date, and we'll get to that. Mabel believes, I don't even think she believes it, believes that they're believes that they're staking out a suspect that Tobert has, but she's looking mighty fucking fine for this stakeout. So I don't think we're meant to believe she was still looking to impress in ways other than her detective work. I meant do. I do think we're meant to believe she was trying to impress in ways other than her detective work. So she arrives at this lounge, and it turns out that Talbot had already dismissed Howard's boyfriend and Ben's understudy, Jonathan. He's the black guy that we've seen throughout the run as a suspect. He's already been following him around for a little while, but he had come to enjoy Jonathan's cabaret show, and it gave him an excuse to essentially trick Mabel into a date that I think Mabel already knew was happening anyway. He says he doesn't know what Mabel likes to drink in this scene, and she orders a mezcal old-fashioned, and I immediately told myself, next time I'm in a bar, I'm ordering that, because I'm really curious what that's going to taste like. I would have never even thought to come up with that drink in my head, and now I'm curious. Somebody thinks that's a good enough drink to, at the very least, write it into this script. I want to fucking try it. I've never had that. So, me taking drink suggestions from Selena Gomez. So they see Jonathan meet with a guy who we later find out is Ben's personal doctor. They exchange something that, I mean, given that he's a doctor, he hands over a piece of paper, kind of looks like a prescription. And Jonathan leaves after seeing Mabel and Tobert seeing him. And if that was a setup to make Jonathan the next suspect to explore next week, man, was that lazy. I feel like they really set up Loretta, though, to be explored next week, and maybe they'll give Jonathan a bit more attention the following week and treat him as the suspect in that one. But yeah, they didn't even give me reason to be suspicious of him meeting with Ben's doctor. Like, I'm still sitting here like, am I supposed to be suspicious of this? If so, why? Like, maybe he needs a prescription and formed a relationship with Ben's doctor. Like, I don't know. They presented that as something that's like a red flag, and I'm sitting here like, I don't see how this is a red flag. Maybe he knew Ben. Probably knew Ben's doctor. Maybe he needs a prescription, so he reached out to Ben's doctor. Like, I don't know. They got some work to do there. Mabel later shows Talbot her murder board, and they kiss, and I think it goes the whole way. And I'm just like, man, not too much attention given to this pairing this week. But I don't think I'm expected to buy into this relationship. I feel like the same thing with Mabel last season with her relationship with Cara I forget her last name or how to say it. But I feel like they kind of played her character as a suspect the whole season anyway. I still kind of feel that way about Talbot. I even said up front that I think it's Talbot or the other woman with the glasses, who hasn't been in an episode for quite a while, who is the actual killer. But where was I? I'm all over the place. Okay, so all three relationships have different endings. Charles and Joyce seemingly break up, or I guess if at best they end their engagement, at best for Charles for now. Mabel and Talbot take things to the highest level of levels, as do Oliver and Loretta. But now we've also been given reason to suspect Loretta for the crime, which I feel like the show's kind of been, wanting us to think about Loretta as the killer this whole time. Anyway, they've been dropping little clues here and there, but they really leaned into it this week. So their plotline opens with Oliver preparing for the date by asking the outstanding question of Mabel: "It's been a while since I dipped my quill in a woman's ink pot. Any new moves I should know about?" Oh, that was a great line, man. Oliver arrives at Loretta's house as she's struggling with cooking pork chops. I loved how Oliver's talking about how much he likes to chew his food, which I assume is a sarcastic comment about old people's teeth or whatever, but I thought it was really funny. I love how he lost the tooth in the pork chop. As usual, in any episode that she appears in, Meryl Streep gets the biggest laugh out of me in this episode. She does this absolutely outstanding pig imitation, both a snort and then like talking in the voice of a pig. Like, Meryl Streep continues to surprise me. Even as the decades over which I've watched her career, she continues to surprise me. She calls Ben a fucking pig, which of course matches what was written on the mirror, and now we began to set up for making Loretta a suspect. But first, she has a plan for Oliver's missing tooth, and they hop on a ferry and they smoke some weed that Oliver rolled in 1978 for him to make a wish as he tosses his tooth into the water. Sidebar: do you guys think Meryl Streep actually smokes weed? Like, I feel like she might. I don't think it'd be something she would publicize, but I feel like if you went to the Oscars, they were like, yeah, we just go head back to Meryl Streep's house, we go chill out over there. Like, I don't think it's gonna be like a totally just like super buttoned up party. Like, I think the pull-up might get passed around at Meryl Streep's party. Anyway, Loretta confesses to arguing with Ben on the night of his murder. After he called her a nobody, she calls him a fucking pig. She also adds that a lot of others feel the same way about him, though, which, I mean, of course. We got too many episodes left of the season for that to not be the case. We learned later in this episode that this is also the same moment in which Charles hits Ben, causing the red mark that Joy had to fix and that Kimber later found out about. So they return to Loretta's place, and while she runs a post-sex bath for them, Oliver discovers a big book full of newspaper clippings about Ben, which, when coupled with the pig comment, seems to be setting up Loretta as the prime suspect for exploration next week. Again, I thought the character stuff this week was really good. I enjoyed watching all of those pairings together, even though I didn't buy what they were selling with Charles and Joy. It was also a nice change of pace as well. If someone had told me that the Omit B crew would be split up for an episode, for the entirety of an episode, I would think that that would be a recipe for failure. But I enjoy watching them kind of like navigate their love lives separately. I just think that the murder mystery aspect of the show is lacking a bit. These setups for conflict or for who the suspect's going to be next week are starting to feel kind of half-assed. And like I said last week, the formula that is... it could not be more obvious at this point. It's kind of taking the intrigue out of solving the mysteries, but that's just for me. At the end of the day, I do still enjoy watching these characters. I do still find this show to be very funny. I do still find it to be very entertaining, despite my criticisms. But my criticisms are just what they are, criticisms. I still enjoy this show. I'm not going to sit here and act as if enjoying a show means that I have to act like it's perfect. It's both things can exist. It can be flawed, and I can enjoy it. And I feel like flaws are starting to creep in. The murder mystery's a lot less compelling. It's very formulaic. But at the end of the day, these three leads are captivating. They continue to have great chemistry. They continue to be hilarious. I continue to enjoy spending 30 minutes with this group every single week. So, yeah, fun times. But I feel like if they don't inject some new life into this, it can't really last much longer than this if you're just going to keep coming with the same formula and just be like, hey, here's a new guest star. But that's just what I think. I'm sure fans of the show who act like it's infallible don't agree. But hey, that's what I think. I'll see you guys next week for episode whatever the next one is, and 6. And until then, peace.